Hi there, my name's Taylor Mitchell.
And I'm Juniper Mitchell.
And we're Lunarust Software, a small indie game studio focused on horror titles.
First things first, a little bit about us. My name is Juniper. I am the studio lead and technical director at Lunarust Software. I've been working in Godot for a little over 2 years now. I spent the first couple of months learning Godot by making a few Psychopomp mods. The first of which is called Mercury Goes to In-N-Out, which at the time, despite never having been there or knowing of its splendor, I thought it would be really funny to make a mod about working there in a horror game, where the basic premise is a high-score-based resource management game where you must prepare and serve food before your customers get angry and beat you to death with hammers over the counter. After Mercury came out and a dozen or so people thought it was funny, I decided I was ready for a much larger project and decided to create Psychopomp Dead Stars, which is a campaign-length mod for Psychopomp. After a few months of steady-ish development on that project, I met Taylor, and we decided to do a game jam together, which ended up taking all precedence over Dead Stars.
I'm Taylor Mitchell, as I said before. I am a YouTube animator. I've been working for about 5 years making original projects and a few fan works here and there, and I am currently the creative lead and game designer at Lunarust, and we are working on our second game title. And a little bit about my previous work. I've been working on this animated series for the past few years called Callow. 5th episode is coming soon. It's basically about this kind of young adult little boy character who has to go through this very strange world, and a lot of elements of it are very surrealist or abstract, kind of like real life. If that sounds like something that you're interested in, I've got a QR code on screen that'll take you to my whole YouTube channel with a bunch of playlists and stuff. I've also done a You May Nikki fan project. It was a cute little small side project. It's 8 minutes long, is what I consider a side project. And I use that to teach myself Autodesk Maya. Typically I work in Blender, and after this project I switched back to Blender and never looked back because Maya is a horrible program and I don't recommend it to anyone. I've also made a couple small little short animations that are about like a minute or so long. I did these before I had to go into a big surgery in like a month, so I really wanted to pump out some videos. And so I decided to make some cute little first-person things and use a lot of gun sounds from Warframe, because I thought it was really funny to make these very overproduced sounds work on a sword that is acting as a gun. And of course I also worked on our previous game title as the creative lead and like game director sort of. Juniper is more like the studio director, but I came up with all the gameplay and all the monster designs and environments and stuff like that. So yeah, about that other game that we've got. Lunarust's previous title is called Heart of Ganymede, and it is a 3D physics-based sit-and-survive horror game. Try to picture if FNAF had cute girls and you had to manage power by actually moving the cables between different machines inside of like the room that you're in. So the general outline of the game is you're going through this elevator and like exploring different elevator stations on this moon, this like alien moon that's like a giant flesh rock and it's eating people. And you have to use the different parts of the elevator, different machines on it in order to kill the different monsters that you encounter. There's some like flying enemies, like these Nautilus and snake enemies, and this giant evil skeleton that you have to use the speaker system on to get rid of. And a big giant plant monster that will like attack you by dropping onto the elevator, and you have to use the shock cage to get rid of her. And it creates a really interesting gameplay loop. It's really exciting. If that sounds like fun, you can see from the gameplay here, it's quite fun. You should go check it out. Link in the description, and we've got a QR code on screen that you can scan to go download it.
The programming for this game was an utter nightmare. I knew I probably wasn't ready to take on a game of this scale at the time, but it was ultimately the right decision as I learned a lot about the standalone game-making process. However, that doesn't mean it's programmed particularly well. Even all this time later, we are still paying off the tech debt with patch after patch.
So, what about our next title? Well, our next project is called Autonomy, and it's similar to Heart of Ganymede, where it is a sit and survive type scenario with a tight gameplay loop of monsters attacking you, and you have to react to them in like specific ways and manage power and that sort of stuff. But for this game, we're doing more of a mixed experience of like sit and survive and survival horror. So we've got some like puzzles that you have to do, as well as ammo management, which is very important for later, as well as a couple other things to really make it a more interesting experience than Ganymede. Ganymede's a very stock like survival horror. You've got 4 monsters, 2 of them attack you in a weird way, 2 of them attack you in a very basic way. It's quite fun, I think, but there's not a whole lot there once you've really experienced the game. So we really wanted to push the gameplay into a more like complicated and gradual experience so that the whole game changes as you progress, and it's not just sitting in a room doing the same thing over and over the whole time. The plot of the story is about all good things in the world, like abusive women and perverse power dynamics, all the great things you want to experience in a piece of media. And the whole game takes place in this megastructure it's a giant sci-fi computer, but all of the inside areas are all themed around like very 1970s, like very bright, colorful interiors. And all of the exteriors are all very cold, gray, metal, concrete brutalism. And I think it makes a very interesting dynamic between the two. Because when you're inside on the 2nd floor and 3rd floor, it feels a little bit more safe. And then when you go outside, it's very cold and scary and open, and well, there will be monsters attacking you from there. Next, I think it would be good to talk about what the actual gameplay loop of Autonomy will really look like. And in order to talk about that, I want to talk about my general philosophy when it comes to creating an art piece, or in this case, an interactive experience, that being a video game, and what I want the people to feel. So what I want people to feel starting off is a lot of fear and like terror, of course. It's a horror game. And I want people to feel very like uncertain and like scared about the monsters. And steadily, as the game gets going, like about like halfway through, they'll be more accustomed to the monsters, and naturally they'll get less scared. And a way you can circumvent that is to just add more monsters, which is great for gameplay, but bad for development. And eventually people will get used to the monsters and they won't be scared of them. Like once you've put 50 hours into like Alien Isolation, it's not really scary anymore. And that's kind of an unfortunate, that's just how the horror genre is. It's quite unfortunate. So my philosophy, in this case, similar to Ganymede, is I want to exchange the initial fear with stress as the game goes on. Of course, you have to have a natural difficulty curve, but what I want to do is to put more pressure on the player by making the game more difficult and have more varied threats attack them to make them feel a lot more stressed out by the end of the game. And that's worked out really good for me. I find that the ending level of Ganymede is always very stressful and very exhilarating to play. It's quite fun. People complain that it's a little hard, and I think it might be a little difficult, but I really wanted the ending cutscene and the good ending of Ganymede to feel really earned, so I made it really difficult. For Autonomy, I still want that, but I think the main story of the game will be a pretty normal, fair difficulty, and there will be a sort of FNAF-style 6th night is where I will just pull out all the stops and make the game really hard. So if you want to beat the game, you can beat the game, but if you really want to beat the game, you're gonna have to work for it. So, time to talk about the actual gameplay loop of Autonomy. The main plot structure and outline is that you play as a woman named Corinne, and you are tasked with building the kill code in order to destroy the core intelligence of the facility that is currently going haywire, sending a bunch of giant murder robots to go kill everyone. The way that you do that is you have these little tubes that you use to power various machines around the observation deck, as well as you have to do a bunch of little engineering micro games on this terminal that's on the 3rd floor balcony as well as building the kill code on the 3rd floor using these tape drives. The whole gameplay loop is essentially you're doing these 2 alternating sets of objectives while a bunch of monsters are trying to kill you. But what monsters do we have? Well, the first monster that we're adding to the game, and the one that you've been seeing in all of the background footage, is called the lymphocyte. They function as immune cell operators inside of the facility, in which they basically try to attack and destroy targets, anything that's like acting awry. But since the whole facility is functionally going crazy, they see anything that moves as a threat, and that includes you. They try to attack you through coming through these vents on the ceiling, as well as breaking through doors that are on the middle and 3rd floor of the observation deck. Anyways, that'll be it for now. Thank you very much for watching. We've got some links on screen to go to both my YouTube channel if you're interested in my previous work, and in the top right you can also find our itch page where we'll be posting the demo for Autonomy, and our previous title, Heart of Ganymede, is there. And we've also got a link to the community Discord if you wish to join, and if you check the description and pinned comment, you might find a wishlist page once we get that up. And make sure to drop a wishlist if you're interested in the game.
We'll try and put out devlogs every 2 weeks or so subscribe and ring the bell if you don't want to miss that. For more frequent updates, or if you just want to hang out and chat, you can join our Discord server, link in the description below.
Anyways, that's all for now. Thank you for watching.